First and foremost, before we get started, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash, and double honors to the elders of Great Millstone while I learn the truth. Also, to the hopeful elect that is scattered abroad, I'd like to say Shalom. And come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the title of today's lesson is Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees. And I'd like to say Shalom to all our listeners. Hope this will help you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness each and every day and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the idea about it is that, unrighteous decrees are going out left and right, mandatory, the jab, or a man marrying a man, a woman marrying a woman, all type of unrighteous decrees. A lot of things are very displeasing to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. The world is upside down. It's the land of confusion because the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Job chapter 9 and verse 24. And idea about the Lord is getting ready to set things back into order, set things right back side up. And idea about the true rulers, which in fact the house of David, the government body, we're getting ready to rule, and the kingdom of heaven is right at hand. So the title of today's lesson, once again, is Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees. And we get started in the book of Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. Verse 2, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that windows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. So the idea about the poor is the nation of Israel. If you're a Negro, a Hispanic, a Native Indian, a Mexican, talking to you, and the idea about it is that, unrighteous decrees are going out left and right towards us, and the idea about it, you will not be able to buy or sell. Revelation chapter 13 is jumping off the page. The MOBT is right upon us, So the idea about it is time to heed and seek Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the idea about it, all only thing, the power is in his hand right now. And the idea about it, he will devour who he will devour. We are not ignorant of Satan's device. And the idea about it, we do not trust in the strength of Egypt in this government. And the idea about the unrighteous decrees. We only put our total trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So now, let's go to Micah. Let's go to Micah one moment. Let's go to Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. And it reads, Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And whose hand it is in? Esau, even the so-called white man. And I deal about Job chapter 9 and verse 24 once again. And also Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4 to tell you they are the border of wickedness. And I deal about that's all they do. They cover fields. They rob a man. They work you without wages. And I deal about that is all unrighteous decree. And the Lord is getting ready to set things back in order. Recompense and judgment is right upon us. Now we'll start back up in Micah chapter 2 and verse 2. And they covered fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man and his heritage. So that's what they're doing each and every day. And constantly oppressing the children of Israel. And they constantly putting all these unrighteous decrees, unfair laws upon us. And it's only to target us to keep us down. When you read about that in Psalm chapter 83, it tell you who it's all to keep us down as a nation, as a nationality, keep us away from our way of life and away from our true power. It's the so-called white man, which in fact Esau, Edom, and the other nation. And the idea about it is that, we do not trust in the strength of Egypt. We trust in the strength of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. We're not worried about the unrighteous decree because he will let until they be taken out the way. And the idea about it, we cannot wait because we know that the kingdom of heaven is right at hand. So now, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 22. One moment. Jeremiah chapter 22 and verse 13. Jeremiah chapter 22 and verse 13. And it reads, Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that uses his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work. So that's the so-called white man. We came over here in slavery on ships, and he worked us to half to death, and without any pay, and we built this wicked kingdom, which in fact is Babylon the Great, aka America. And I deal about recompense and judgment is right upon Esau. He is getting ready to repay him for what he did to the children of Israel, shed our precious blood, took our land from us. And I deal about constantly throwing all these unrighteous decrees upon, would not be able to buy ourselves, would not restrict your movement. A man would not be able to go into another city because of these unrighteous decrees. And I deal about it, the Lord is getting ready to set things back into order. So that I deal about it, we are rejoicing, ye heaven, because the devil knowing that he has just a short time. All hell is getting ready to break loose, and the devil getting ready to come down with great wrath. But the Lord is getting ready to lift up that standard to get him. So we're not worried about his unrighteous decree, and we're not ignorant of Satan's device. Rejoice, ye heavens. So now, let's go to McAbee. Let's get an example of what happened in the past. This already had happened in the past during King Antiochus days. So like, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. And we'll go to McAbee chapter 1, and we'll start up at verse 41. Get a little example of what happened back then when they tried to start this global reset back then. There's nothing new under the sun. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus write to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. The new world order, what they're trying to start today, is similar to what happened in the past. There's nothing new under the sun. Verse 42, everyone should leave his law. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Verse 43, yea, many also of the Israelites, the 2/3, consented to his religion and sacrifice unto idols and profane Sabbath. So that everybody doing that today. Colonial plantation gospel, so-called white man Jesus, all these different denominations, Baptist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventists, you know what I'm saying, Jehovah Witness, just all that boy stemmed out of the heathens. You know what I'm saying? They started all of this, and the idea about it is that the idea about it trying to take you away from your true power with the unrighteous decrees, and observing the Sabbath on the wrong day. And the idea about it, these are all unrighteous decrees, and the Lord is getting ready to set things back in order. He will let until he be taken out of the way. So now, First Maccabees chapter 1, and we'll start back up at verse 44. And the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and to the city of Judea, that they should follow the strange law of the land. Verse 45, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offering in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath and the festival days. Verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy place and the holy people. Salaki. Verse 47, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine flesh and unclean beasts. Verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all matter of uncleanness and profanation. So the idea about it is that's what's going on today. The idea about it, they set up these what you call these harlot houses, these church houses, and a lot of people are going into those church houses, going in the ways of the heathen. Also, they observing all these different pagan holidays, Christmas, New Year, birthdays, Valentine's Day. All that come from all these wicked heathen. And I deal about those are unrighteous decree, eating pork, eating unclean thing, making abominable thing. Ye are the temple of the Most High. And I deal about he is getting ready to set things back in order. And I deal about Esau, Edom only have a certain time, the so-called white man, to do what he do. And I deal about he knowing that he had just a short time. That's why he's getting ready to come down with great wrath and to start this new world order once again. And I deal about it didn't work back then. It will not work now. He will not be able to perform his enterprise because the Lord is getting ready to take him out of the way. And I deal about the kingdom of heaven is getting ready to be established. The world without end, righteousness, rulership. So the idea about that's what we are waiting on. And the idea about this red devil already had tried this before, back in King Antiochus' day. And the idea about it during Alexander the Great. He was one of the king after he had passed. And the idea about it, evil multiplied, which in fact is the Esau Edom. When you read about that in Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4, he said, they are the border of wickedness. Everywhere they go, destruction, death, innocent blood being shed, rob, steal, murder, kill, each and every day. And I deal about it, the Lord is letting him because he's doing it from the left-hand side. And I deal about it. But in the end, the right-hand side will win. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So that deal about it, he's only doing the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And that deal about it, he is getting ready to be taken out of the way. It will not be a global reset the way that he thinks. It will be a global reset, but it will be the kingdom of heaven is getting ready to be established. We're in a transition of power right now. So now, let's start back up at First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 49. And it reads, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinance. Verse 50, and whosoever would not do according to the commandments of the king, he said he should die. So that deal about it, that's the same thing as getting ready to happen all over again. He changed the audience, he changed the landmass, he changed everything. And that deal about it, the Lord is getting ready to come to punish this man. And that deal about it, if you are clinging to him or you constantly trusting in the so-called white man, you will be destroyed with him or with all his unrighteous decrees. So that deal about it, it's nothing new under the sun. So that deal about it is that things are getting ready to happen now. Anyone that wanted to follow the unrighteous decrees back then was put to death. And that deal about the same thing that's going on now in this time. If you do not want to take that juice and be a part of this 5G blockchain system, you shall be put to death. The unrighteous decrees are coming back. This is revised Roman Empire all over again. And the Lord is getting ready to destroy this place. So now, let's go to Revelation chapter 13. Get a little bit more edification. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13, we'll start at verse 15. One moment. It coincide, you know what I'm saying? It's a follow-up to what I just read, a precept. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 15. We'll start at verse 15. And it reads, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and call that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So that deal about it is that's that blockchain 5G system that they're getting ready to start up. And the idea about it, the only way to get you online is for you to take that, you know what, that juice. And the idea about it, trying to make it mandatory. And the idea about it, as what's going on back then is going on now. You will be put to death. Great persecution. And death is coming upon us. The one that stand loyal to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. But he said that our temptation, he will keep thee. And he will preserve us. And that deal about some of us will have to be mortals. But that deal about we will not bend or fold to Esau Edom unrighteous decree. We're not worried about his evil schemes, his evil devices, because that deal about it, we're gonna constantly do the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and expose all his wickedness. And the ideal about it, he is making Esau Edom bear each and every day. And the ideal about it, he is constantly setting things back in order right before our eyes. And the ideal about it, this new world order is coming. The ones that can see it's coming at a fast pace right before our eyes. That's why each and every day he's coming out with so many different unrighteous decrees. If you don't come, take the jab, you will have to go into FEMA camps, mandatory this, mandatory that, all unrighteous decree. And that deal about it, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. So now we'll start back up in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. And it reads, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their forehead. Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So that's that blockchain system, that beast system, that global reset, the new world order. And I deal about it. The only way that you will be a part of that, if you consent to these unrighteous decrees. And I deal about it, the men of the Lord, we will not consent. We will not bend a foe, because we know that the Lord will help us and he will deliver us. So that I deal about it, we are rejoicing, because we knowing that the kingdom of heaven is right at hand. We are in a transition of power right now. We read upon Jacob trouble. We read upon World War III. The MOTB is right upon us. And I deal about it, we must constantly put our total trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So now let's go to our last and final script, and we'll close out. Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 2. One moment, and we'll close out here. Habakkuk chapter 2, and we'll start up at verse 5. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. We'll start up here. And it reads, yea, also, because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, and the devil that the Bible speaks of. Neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and as a and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, heapeth unto them, unto him all people. So the idea about it is that he heapeth all people together. Look, America, Babylon the Great. This is the melting pot. All different type of nationality. We all heap together here because the idea about it, he's a proud man. He's trying to build his own kingdom. He tried to be his own God. And the idea about it, he wanted to deny the true power. But the idea about it, the Lord is letting until he be taken out of the way. The Most High is getting ready to take him out of the way. He is very proud. He's puffed up with pride. But the idea about it, he is getting ready to go down. And also with his unrighteous decree, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. So now, let's start back up at Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6. And it reads, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that laded himself with thick clay. So the idea about it, he's constantly robbing and stealing and lying and being deceit. And the idea about it is it's a lot of great debt that he owes the other nation. And the idea about it, these other nations is getting ready to turn against him. You read about that in Obadiah chapter 1. And the idea about it tell you that the ones that was in confederate with him, they will turn against him. And the idea about it, we are at that time right now. We at the end of time. This global reset is getting ready to start. The new world order. And the idea about it, the Lord is getting ready to set up a righteous kingdom. And the idea about it is that, he is constantly bringing out each and every day all of this deceivingness and all of this lies and deceit to try to entice you to take, and the idea about it to be a part of the what? That system. And the idea about the MOBT. And the idea about it, if you consent, you will be trodden down and you will be put to death. And the idea about it is that the men of the Lord will constantly sign and crying, letting you know what's coming. And the idea about it, we're constantly walking in the paths of righteousness because we can see the kingdom of heaven is right at hand. So now, let's start back up at Habakkuk chapter 2, and we'll start back up at verse 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Verse 8, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land of the city, and all that dwell therein. Let's read that again. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 8. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land of the cities, and of all that dwell therein. So the idea about it, that day is coming. Recompense and judgment is coming towards Esau, Edom, and the heathen nation. Everything that he had done in the past, all the innocent blood that he had shed, all the land that he had robbed and killed and raped and took away from the children of Israel, he is getting ready to repay. He's getting ready to repay with his own blood. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way it can be cleansed. We must shed his blood. And the idea about it, recompense is judgment. It's getting ready to come in a big way. And the idea about it, we're not worried about his unrighteous decree and all the things that he had done there. The Lord said he will repay him. You know what I'm saying? And the idea about it, he is getting ready to repay Esau, Edom, and the other nations. And also the 2/3 that want to be constantly clean to him and his way of life, they also will be destroyed. So the title of the daily lesson, once again, is woe to him that decree, unrighteous decree. And I like to say, I like to give all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakadash. And I like to say, Shalom.